Welcome back. We're discussing the latest 25% Trump tariff threat that has come out of the United States and what that means for us here in Canada, what it means for our economy. And joining me again are Tony Clement and Dr. Andreas Schotter. Tony, just before we went to commercial break, we were talking a bit about the personality of Trump, or more how he makes good on his threats. So, we should really take this seriously. It seemed that some of the drivers of this threat of the tariff, rather, is illegal immigration and drugs. That's been presented as these are the drivers of this threat. But isn't that mostly like a Mexico problem? Why is Canada being dragged into this?
Yeah, I think when you look at the degree or scale, certainly Mexico, when it comes to immigration or drugs, is more of a problem than Canada is. But obviously, President Trump, has talked about that. I think there's some underlying issues as well. He's getting briefed by some very bright people that are going to be part of his administration, and I would say as they continue their move to decouple the U.S. economy from China, they're going to have to have replacements when it comes to critical minerals, when it comes to oil and gas issues as well. Those are the kinds of things that could be driving the negotiations as well. And this is where the changeover or the non-changeover in the Canadian government is a problem, Tanya. It would have been interesting if Justin Trudeau would have called an election, but he didn't do that. He announced his intention to, in the future months, resign as Liberal Party leader and as Prime Minister. So I have to ask the question on your show: how much room is Justin Trudeau going to give to negotiations about more oil and gas pipelines to the U.S.? That
Right.
hasn't been the policy of the government to date. What does that mean in terms of increased defense spending for the Arctic and for NATO? Again, a lot of talk coming out of Ottawa, not a lot of action. So I do have to put this question, is the current Canadian Liberal government the right interlocutor when it comes to these meaningful negotiations with Donald Trump?
No, I would answer no. It seems that this temporary paralysis of our federal government, because really it is like we're stagnant and just kind of treading water until there's a new leader selected, and then what? Until a federal election in the fall, maybe even earlier, who knows? So, Dr. Schotter, what kind of a foot does that put us on? How do we negotiate? Does the United States just continue barreling forward while we're in stagnation? What's going on here?
Yeah, the question is who's negotiating, right? Without, I totally side here with Tony. We need an election rather sooner than later. We cannot wait until October. We can barely wait until March, to be very honest. And we need to have a clear picture. I only hope, though, that on either side, particularly on the conservative side, which has definitely the upside right now, we see no open war, but a very positive moving forward in their rhetorics, in their argumentation towards a negotiation. I must say I have very much faith on that side of the political spectrum right now, particularly when you look at the evidence, what has happened over the last 10 years on the other side. It's just not a partisan statement. It's just observing and looking at data. At the moment, I don't even know, you can fly down to Mar-a-Lago and try to talk to President Trump right now, but who would do that again, right? I mean, who would be taken serious right now? We need to have a serious government. We need elections soon, right?
Right. Well, it seems that Premier Danielle Smith is taking her bull by the horns, and good for her. She's saying, I'm not waiting for the federal government to sort out their nonsense. I don't like waiting for them in general, let alone in this predicament. And she's apparently going to the inauguration. Tony, I know Alberta has a very special relationship in Ottawa, or so rather in Washington. Is she going to continue down this path of just kind of going rogue and doing her own thing?
Yeah, I think that's very astute of Premier Danielle Smith to do that. I know Premier Doug Ford has also tried to do things sort of separately from the federal government. Scott Moe as well. So I think those are good conversations to have. Obviously, they've got very deep relationships with the governors of the United States who do a lot of trade with Alberta, Ontario, and Saskatchewan. So I think again, those are good conversations to have because Donald Trump, he may think one thing or another, but if 10 governors contact him and say, hey, you know what? This may not be really good for the gas prices in Ohio or the car prices in Michigan. He would obviously want to take that into consideration. So yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of toing and froing going on. But the fact is, a lot of the things where we should be listening to the Americans on defense and security issues, on
Yes.
immigration issues, on critical minerals, on those kinds of issues. We have oil and gas. We have a government that is actually going in the other direction. And one final point for your viewers, if I might, after the break, I'll make that point.
Okay, we'll be right back, Tony. I'll let you have that moment.